pitching and defense. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It is Monday, March 16th, 2026. Forgive me because it's true. Pitching and defense, that's 3 words, but I couldn't go with just pitching. I couldn't go with just defense. But if you've been around Nothing Personal, how do you win baseball games? How do you build a team? How can you confidently go into a semifinal game at Lone Depot Park right here in Miami as Team USA against the Dominican Republic and their offense and win a game 2-1? Pitching and defense. On a morning where we could talk about the Academy Awards, we could talk about college basketball and the fact that it's March and it's about to be mad. We are starting with the dream. The dream when the World Baseball Classic started was for the United States to win. That was part 1A of the dream. Part A of the dream was building an asset. The asset would be called the World Baseball Classic. The asset would be used to show the Olympic Committee that taking baseball out of the Olympics was a mistake. The asset was meant to provide Major League Baseball and its owners with additional broadcast inventory. The asset was meant to replicate the World Cup of soccer. The reason I can tell you with certainty what the goal was of the asset was when you're there upon something's creation, you have a decent idea of both the creator and why there is a creation. All of these years later, let's just, for easy math, call it 20 years, but that's incorrect. 2026, the USA team going through what could only be described as several PR blunders, several fits and starts as it relates to player participation, player availability, is one of 3 teams standing as we sit here this morning. Except the way they did it is being viewed almost pejoratively because of the final strike 3 call in the bottom of the 9th. You see, the game had built to a crescendo last night. Side note, not easy to be a part of Le Batard's live watch party, which was amazing. They did a show combining the Oscars and March Madness Selection Sunday with guests. It was unreal. Everyone behind the scenes, in front of the camera. Afterward, go upstairs, get 2 screens going because I'm watching the Oscars, which we'll cover. I'm watching the World Baseball Classic. Best Picture's announced, and I still have about an inning and a half of the game where I can be just watching that because you know my issue. When I'm watching 2 things, it's like I'm watching none, which is why the Red Zone channel drives me insane. But that said, so I'm watching, and what I've been watching is Paul Skeens. You get 90 pitches in the semifinals. That is an agreement that was made with great care, with baseball operations employees, with commissioner's office employees, with team presidents, team owners. You've built up in spring training. Opening day is literally 9 days away. There is 1 start left for your starter, and the goal in the start before the end of spring training is that you are built up, as Jack McKeon used to say, to give me 9. So while there's a lot of be careful, don't go too much, too fast, you get 90 pitches for the semifinals and finals. One small caveat. The team that has the rights to the player who is pitching in the WBC has the final say in the number of pitches. People are not talking about it as much, but all the stuff that was upsetting you about the lineups that the USA was putting out, or who's playing how much, who's pitching how much, as I've told you, please, it's all predetermined. Paul Skeens is taking the mound for the semifinals. Again, part of the plan. That always was going to be the case. Much like it was always going to be the case that Nolan McLean was going to pitch the finals. But I digress. But the Pittsburgh Pirates obviously did not want Paul Skeens going 90 pitches. How do I know that? I didn't speak to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'll tell you how I know that. Because Paul Skeens went 71 pitches. It appears to me that the Pittsburgh Pirates said to Mike Hill, the general manager of Team USA, hey, Mikey, we like him. He can give you 70. He goes to 71. Out comes Mark DeRosa, and in comes a fresh bullpen that shuts down the Dominican Republic. And I don't mean anything other than perfectly. Skeens leaves the game. 5 relievers, one after another, are out there. They held the Dominican Republic to a grand total. Wait for the final score. It's 2-1. That means that a team that's been scoring 10 runs a game gets shut down by the best pitcher in the game and what turns out to be the best bullpen in the tournament. 2 things happened of note that are going to be talked about at the water cooler. The third thing bothered me plenty, which is Tatis up with runners on second and third, 1 out, and struck out. He could not get the ball in the air. And I always think of Andre Dawson and Tony Perez, my good friends who can't believe when all you need is contact. All you need is contact. Nope. Strikeout. 2 outs. No run score. We go to the bottom of Coca. What inning was it? Come on. What inning was it with Austin Wells? Not stopping at third. I'm completely blanking. Austin Wells, second base. Looking like JT Snow. Not being pinch run for, which is staggering to me. When you have an opportunity and you're down a run in the 7th inning, the latter third of the game, and there is a base hit when base hits are hard to come by, you make the defense make a throw. I wasn't upset that Tatis got thrown out at third for the third out. Be aggressive. Make players make plays. Sometimes they make plays. Sometimes it doesn't work out. That's called baseball. Why Austin Wells was running? When you've got O'Neal Cruz, I don't care that they used him to pinch hit later in the game. You don't need him pinch hitting. You need him running from second when you're down a run. You've got to tie the score. If you can cobble together another base hit, which they get the base hit, Austin Wells, slow as molasses, gets held up at third base, which means you need another hit or a pass ball to tie the game or a wild pitch or a balk. And they got none of them. So we go to the bottom of the 9th. Before every game, there's a meeting with the umpires. I know you know this. And if you don't, it's okay. Now you do. Major League Baseball, they've met with the umpires before every postseason game, before every World Baseball Classic game, before every Jewel event. You meet with the umpires during a regular Tuesday in July, for crying out loud. I think it's clear that having the United States in the finals was a priority for Major League Baseball. That's not being a conspiracy theorist. Again, let's go back to how the World Baseball Classic was born. The United States team being productive and going all the way through to the finals is a critical part of broadcast revenue. We'll get to Japan and how critical a part it was for Japan to have won, but nothing can be done about that. Umpires cannot, on their own, impact the true outcome of the game, but man, they can help. And when you see what happened with strike 3 to end the game, you have to understand, when you are the Dominican Republic and you are their manager, Albert Pujols, you are telling them one thing. Gentlemen, do not get Wainwrighted. Do not go Carlos Beltran and get caught looking to end a game. I don't care if it's a bender. I don't care if it's 102 on the black. I don't care if it's 6 inches low. We will not lose this game with the bat on our shoulders. I want the swinging strikeout. The reason why you tell your team that is when you know, and Albert Pujols is no fool, when you know that there is a possibility, forget the fact that there's no ABS, which there will be once the regular season starts in 9 days. Forget the fact that Corey Blazer, the home plate umpire, was certainly understanding of the situation. You can manage past that by having your players swing the bat. So you're going to read a ton of theories today. What an outrage. That was ball 4. There is no reason in the world to have that as a called strike. That inning's got to continue, yada, yada, yada. That's not the game, folks. The game is understanding your situation and then playing to it. And it's not that Albert Pujols is a first-time manager or that he's not capable of being a major league manager. That's not it at all. As a former player, as a Hall of Fame player, Albert Pujols knows exactly what goes on behind the scenes, knows exactly what he is up against. And this is not just baseball, all sports, all business. There is always an opportunity to understand the opponent, to understand the circumstance. That's why it's so important in a negotiation, in anything you're doing. Learning about your environment, critical. Walking in off the street and starting and going to bat or going into a meeting, it puts you at an immediate disadvantage. So Gunnar Henderson and Roman Anthony hit solo home runs, and that's enough. When you've got pitching and defense, that's all you need. Score me a couple runs. An absolutely outstanding win for Team USA, a crushing loss for the Dominican Republic. And the World Baseball Classic goes on for Team USA with an off day today. The finals are tomorrow, Tuesday the 17th. And it is a harsh reality for the teams which lose in the quarters or the semis. Because before you know it, you are on a plane or you are in your car going up 95 and you're back at spring training. And you are back in it, getting ready for the season. The adrenaline letdown. Now, some of the teams will give the players an extra day. You take an extra day, then you report. We've allowed that, no problem. Take a day to just get yourself together, to realize that you're not going to be playing in front of 36,000 unbelievable fans at Marlins Park. You're going back to play in front of 2,000 and 3,000 people at spring training. That's life. Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved before. The World Baseball Classic, as it is constructed, the way the brackets are put together, it's meant to be a Tuesday, March 17th, Team USA against Team Japan. That is the object of every single World Baseball Classic. If you are not on either of those teams, you know you are up against it. If you are on one of those teams, you know that they, capital T, small H-E-Y, want USA Japan. As much as you want it. Doesn't always work out. You don't always get Ohtani striking out Trout to end the World Baseball Classic. But boy, oh boy, having Japan lose to Venezuela in the quarterfinals, that was not part of the plan when Major League Baseball is negotiating a broadcast deal with Netflix exclusively in Japan. That's right, Netflix, the same Ted guy who was at the Oscars, who was made fun of by Conan O'Brien in the monologue, saying, "This must be your nightmare, having all these people in a theater." That was his only good joke of the monologue, Coca. Netflix Japan is a separate entity. When you negotiate with Netflix Japan, you're not negotiating with Netflix US. Netflix Japan does a deal. They get the rights. It's been a little controversial in Japan because it caused maybe viewership to be down because you had to be a subscriber of Netflix. That's right. That's the point of a streaming deal, to get people to subscribe and then not to cancel once the event that is on is done. The goal is to get you to watch Han Solo climb the Taipei Tower or watch some sort of Jake Paul crusher. I know, Coco. You don't have to look at me through the glass. It's Alex, not Han Solo. That's a character in Star Wars. It's early, folks. Coco was working all night. Or he just didn't think it was clever. Or he's looking up something else. I can't even. This is great. I'm with Coco right now in Miami. So I can see him through the glass. Normally, I can only hear him in my ear. So now I actually get to see what he's doing right now during the show. He's on 3 monitors, looking up stuff, solo, and totally ignoring what could be possibly, interestingly, funny. I still can't get him to look. All right, I'm moving on. So Japan, Venezuela. I'm at the game. I'm watching. I go with my son, my son's friend, and Matthew Coca. 4 of us. We go to dinner. We go to Joe's. We have some stone crabs. We make our way to Lone Depot Park, and I am a fan. That's it. I'm not the president of the team. I have no ID. I have no credentials. I've got a ticket that I purchased. 4 of them. We go to the ballpark. Second time at a baseball game since 2017. First time my son and I had been to a baseball game together where I wasn't working. He's out of college. I had never been to a baseball game. Something very simple. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me for that reason, so please don't. But it was very special and meaningful to be at a game with him. Watching Acuna lead off with a home run. Watching Ohtani lead off with a home run. Watching the Japanese fans who both live in Miami or the U.S. or travel from Japan, watching them dance and chant, watching the Venezuelans who are from Miami, not Marlins season ticket holders, stop complaining that we can't replicate this atmosphere in the regular season. I have news for you. Yankee Stadium, Wrigley, Fenway, St. Louis, the old St. Louis, Dodgers, none of them have this. None of them have the environment that is created when it's country v. country. Because it's country v. country. I did do a non-scientific study of Venezuelan fans sitting around me. Hey, are you from Miami? Those who spoke English, because I don't speak enough Spanish, but I got to say Marlins, and I got a lot of this. No. Wait, you don't come to Marlins games? We would try to set up season ticket booths. We'd have people walking around selling tickets. You got it sold out. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, I thought, as team president. Why can't we convert these people? Why can't we recreate Marlins Rockies Tuesday, 7 o'clock? We do heritage nights. Why can't every night be a heritage night? Why not just make every night Venezuelan night or Dominican Republic night? Because it's the scarcity. It's the pride. It's the uniform. It doesn't mean that Team USA is a bunch of schleppers or that they're not having fun or that they don't care. It's culture. It is a love of the game, Kevin Costner. So we're watching the game, and we're watching these home runs, and for the first time, I felt old. The reason I felt old is that I'm watching a back-and-forth game. It was 5-2 Japan, then it was 7-5, and then 8-5 to Venezuela. Venezuela wins. I'm thinking about egress. I know you know what I mean. I know when you go to an event, you're all excited, but you're focused on egress, which is why when you're building a ballpark, you try to do egress as well as possible. But it's impossible to do it right. Why? Because ingress is always easier because the crowd arrives at different times. Egress is always tougher because everyone leaves at the same time. And you can't build infrastructure for everyone leaving at the same time. For crying out loud, we can barely build infrastructure for everyone to use the bathroom at the same time. So come the 7th inning, I'm looking over at my son, I'm looking over at Coca, and I said, hey, we'll watch Ohtani one more time. We're not going to leave without seeing Ohtani hit every time. And even intentionally walking, that's worth seeing. Though he didn't intentionally walk, I think they struck him out his final at-bat because pitching and defense wins. And then we leave. I admit it. I left in the 8th inning of Venezuela because I was so focused on egress. It doesn't take away. Please. It doesn't change the experience. I don't want to sit in traffic. Plus, it was a 9 p.m. game. It was after midnight. Tonight we have a semifinal game. Venezuela, trying to get to the finals for the first time, is going against the darlings of the tournament. Why they're the darlings, I don't know. The old Team Italy, you got to be on the team by eating Italian food. These are a bunch of major league players. Team Italy's good. They're starting Michael Lorenzen tonight. Coco, do we have a line for Venezuela, Italy? I'm going to say Venezuela, our friends at DraftKings, I'm going to say Venezuela should be certainly minus 180 at least. But we're about to... Oh, I was so close, Coca. Minus 190. Yeah, you got to figure Venezuela is favored. But don't take away from what Team Italy does. They scrap, they score, and they find ways to win. We've got an exciting semi-final game tonight, leading into the coronation of Mark DeRosa as a World Baseball Classic Cup winning manager. Just you wait. Speaking of wait, Coca, I want to do a wait to see on this because you're going to read about ABS. You're going to read about player usage. God knows we've read about it for 2 weeks since the World Baseball Classic started. Who's coming? Who's not? Is Garrick Roche coming? Is he got scratched yesterday from his start. Does that mean he's getting to Miami and he's pitching the finals Tuesday? No. It was predetermined that Nolan McLean of the Mets would be the pitcher in the finals. Stop it. There's no Garrick Roche coming to save the day. Wait to see is when we tell you something's going to happen. If it does, great. If it doesn't, fine. We'll revisit it. Write on a document. Go to our website, davidsamsonpodcast.com. You can go there. You can find merch. You can find all of our content, the great clips that Mike does, that Matt does. All you have to do is go to a tracking document, and you can see every single wait to see we've ever done. Well, I'm going to add one to the list today, Coca. An official wait to see. Before the next World Baseball Classic, there will be 2 changes. 1, there will be ABS used the way it's going to be used in Major League Baseball starting this year. It's a guarantee. 2, there will be changes on player use. Just leave that open, Coca, if you don't mind, that it's changes on player use. And the reason why I want that in the wait to see is I want you to realize that the meetings that are happening within baseball right now, maybe literally, although it's early, but the meetings that are happening are based on the tsuris that Major League Baseball, the commissioner's office, the team manager, the team general manager, all of the crap they have to deal with in dealing with the 30 major league teams. Because when I was one of them, I was one of them. We are calling the World Baseball Classic. We're speaking to the manager, and we're making sure we have exact usage control. We're making sure that we have certain number of at-bats for our position players. We have a control over the exact innings pitched of our pitchers, bullpen and starters. The exact number of pitches for our starter. We're in charge. Well, that ain't no way to run a team. And baseball is going to wise up, and the commissioner is going to spearhead something, a change which says when your player is playing for the World Baseball Classic team, you have to believe that we have put in competent general managers, competent managers, and they will be the property. You'll be fully insured, not by Bad Bunny, but they will be the property of the World Baseball Classic, because I don't want to talk to the Pittsburgh Pirates about Paul Skeens in the semifinals. He will be built up. He will be tended to, taken care of. If you don't want him pitching more than 71 pitches, then we don't want him. Now, of course, there could be exceptions. If you're Paul Skeens, the greatest pitcher in baseball, and you're very, very young, not yet signed, you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, is there ever going to come a time when that team will not have a seat at the table for usage? No. But not during the tournament, for crying out loud. Can't you just picture the scene? Bob Nutting picking up the phone. Listen here, Rob. 70 pitches, my guys told me. That's it. Oh, come on. We want Skeens going 7. He's got this. We got to get to the finals. You know, we tell you about wait to sees that we'll revisit them. I assume you remember the wait to see from March 12th when I gave you the Oscar winners. I gave you Best Actor. I gave you Best Actress. I gave you Supporting Actor and Supporting Actress. I gave you Best Director. Boom. 5 for 5. What a ceremony last night. I've got my ballot with me, Coca. It really appears to me that I went 21 of 24. I missed 3 categories, which bothers me because I wanted to run the table. Now, I beat Adnan Virk. That's true. I won the family pool, or tied. That's true. I may have won outright. I didn't do the calculation. I went to watch the World Baseball Classic game after the Oscars. What a show. I got some takeaways for you, Coca. Top 5 takeaways from the Oscar ceremony, just so you can get caught up. Now, you can watch some clips. There were some amazing moments. I'm going to do a little detail here, Coca, just a little. But just know this is one takeaway. When you're famous and you die, families are paying attention to something, and that is legacy. They're paying attention to keeping the memory of the actor or actress or cinematographer or director or studio executive. The in memoriam section of an award show is not only meant to remind the audience who passed away since the last show a year earlier, but it's also to give a nod, to tip your cap to the family and friends of that person, saying, we remember. There is competition every year in the in memoriam section that is multi-layered. The first entry point is, are you in it or not? And there's discussions that happen. No one forgets about James Van Der Beek. No one forgets about Eric Dane or Malcolm Jamal Warner or Harold and Maude star Bud Cort. Everyone's considered because there's a full list of those who die. If you've got another place to go, then the Academy Awards are going to have you go to that other place. If you are known more for TV, James Van Der Beek, Eric Dane, Malcolm Jamal Warner, it doesn't mean you've not been in a movie or that you're not a member of the Academy, but it means that you are more known for TV. We leave it to the Emmys. When you are famous as a movie star, but you do not have the fame or the current day recognition, and there is no Hollywood power or family around you that requires you to be included, then you are Bud Cort. So 1, you get in, and then you get down to business. What's the order? Because the focus on the first face you see, the last face you see, who gets a clip, who doesn't, who's on screen for a count of half a second versus the extra quarter of a second or a full second. This is all pre-programmed. It is like the cafeteria of a middle school where you get your lunch and you don't know where to sit and you're freaking out with middle school anxiety. We're talking Mean Girls on steroids. The in memoriam section of the Academy Awards is a dog-eat-dog world. And this year, while everyone was spent time crying because out comes Billy Crystal to do a section, a big section for Rob Reiner and his wife. Out comes Rachel McAdams to talk about Diane Keaton and Catherine O'Hara. Could this year be worse? Then you see Barbara Streisand singing about Robert Redford. Oy vey. Tears. Thinking about your own mortality, your family, thinking about all sorts of things, bemoaning the fact that the people you grew up watching are now being clipped off one at a time. The in memoriam section becomes a gut-wrenching, stomach-ache-inducing, wrinkle-noticing 12 minutes. My God, was it long this year, Coca. Staggeringly long. But it's what happens. You're going to have Robert Redford, Diane Keaton. You're going to have Robert Duvall all in the same year. And then Rob Reiner gets murdered. Keep in mind, murder always counts for upgrade. Do I think Rob Reiner with his show, I mean, listen, Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, Misery, Spinal Tap, on and on. An unbelievable director. Best director of all time? Absolutely not. Great catalog? Great catalog. But you get an absolute in memoriam promotion for being stabbed by your son. Very upsetting. But that's a takeaway, that the in memoriam was a huge part of the Oscars last night, and it was well calculated. 2, I have no idea. Well, let's do that again, Coca. 4869. It should not surprise anyone that a woman has never won Best Cinematographer. It just shouldn't surprise you. When the winner was announced yesterday, that it was Sinners. That's one of the categories I got wrong because I did not think that they were ready, that branch, to have a woman in charge of cinematography who would be an Oscar winner. There have been only a couple of women nominated in that department, no winners. Sinners and its cinematographer. She stands up, addresses the audience, asks for all women to stand as a way to thank them. And we're obviously talking about Autumn is her first name. Gerald Arkapaw is the cinematographer who won for Sinners. And acknowledging the women who all had been a part of what she referred to as her journey. It's a special moment because there's so much black versus white and man versus woman and color and politics and war. All of the underpinnings of what it is to be in that industry. And that's not the only industry that has that. It strikes me that when you're looking for quality, maybe I'll learn eventually, but I don't have it yet. I didn't realize that quality and gender and sex were related. I just didn't realize. It's not like we're asking anyone to cut down trees with the chainsaw, in which case I'd be in the same position as most people, unable to do it regardless of gender. It's like when we're scouting for a baseball team. It never mattered to me. Oh, I know we want to get more African Americans playing baseball. Yeah, I do know that. And that may impact a tie. I know that we're looking for diversity. I know that I'm looking for whatever I'm looking for. But what I'm looking for the most is quality, winning, talent. The cinematography of Sinners was award-winning. The fact that a woman had the opportunity to do it and then get recognized was outstanding. 3, I get why Culkin was snippy. I do. You see, the Oscars are supposed to be the award show that you go to when you're nominated. You're not supposed to go full Marlon Brando. You get nominated and you show up and you look happy when you lose. That's part of the rules of engagement. Sean Penn doesn't play by those rules. Sean Penn doesn't want to waste his time. He has not been going to most of the award ceremonies, and he did not go to the Oscars last night. The supporting actor from last year, who you may remember the winner, was the actor from Succession, the Home Alone kid's brother, Kieran Culkin. You know him. He won for the movie that I'm completely blanking, that he starred with Jesse Eisenberg, that I can't believe I forgot. That this is unbelievable. I've got to stay off the crack pipe. How could I not? What is it? Real Pain. Unbelievable. That is outrageous. Thank you, Coco. So Culkin gets up. He's announcing supporting actor, and they've got the live photos of the 4 nominees and then a stock photo of Sean Penn. When you are stock photoed, it means you're not there. Winner, Sean Penn. Culkin. No, Sean Penn isn't there. He reads and says, hey, he couldn't be here today or he didn't want to. Sean Penn is getting a lot of negative attention, so he had his PR people make sure that we knew that he was either planning for or in Ukraine. Hard to know which. It's almost like Rose Byrne's husband, Bobby Cannavale, who was out with his kids getting some sort of vomit dragon pet and couldn't attend when Rose Byrne won. I was not offended by Sean Penn not being there. It gave more time for the tie of live-action short for those 2 groups to come on. Can you imagine? That's not even a takeaway. I'm not even going to give you any comment on the fact that there was a tie in live-action short. How can that? There's no ties. You either win the Oscar or you lose. No ties. Next. How about Diane Warren? If you don't shout out to Diane Warren, then I don't know you. You're not a friend of mine. A, we reviewed the movie. Watch it. It's called Relentless. B, nominated again for Best Song, called Dear Me, about what it is that's asked of every person in an interview or in a game that you're playing on date night or game night. What would your today's self say to your middle school self? What would you say? Hey, you'll get the girl eventually? Hey, the B plus doesn't matter. Hey, sitting at the wrong cafeteria table is just fine. Hey, that loser over there is going to run the world. There's a whole lot of things that you would say if you could. Dear me. Well, dear me, Diane Warren lost again because the song from Coca's nephew and niece's favorite movie of the year, K-pop Demon Hunters, Golden, baby. You're talking about a winner. The last thing I want to say about the Oscars is when you see a original screenplay, which is one of my favorite categories, if not my favorite. Original screenplay, adapted screenplay, that's not easy, but you are writing a movie based on a previously released work of art. So it's based on a book, it's based on something. Original screenplay is when you look at a blank piece of paper, which is every writer's worst nightmare. You're looking at a blank piece of paper, and somehow you create a movie. You could create a movie that's based on truth, like Blue Moon and The Life of Lorenz Hart, where Ethan Hawke was nominated for Best Actor. You could create that, and you do some research, and you learn, and you figure it out. You can create a movie based on absolutely nothing you've ever seen. What Coogler did with Sinners, I don't want to overlook it. Winning Best Original Screenplay, which he did for writing Sinners, is an absolute honor. It's one of the biggest awards of the night, Original Screenplay. And having Coogler win it, and then realizing that he also was nominated for, but lost to Paul Thomas Anderson as director of Sinners. I looked this up. 15 years in a row, the winner of Original Screenplay also directed the movie. Coogler directed Sinners. The winner of Adapted Screenplay, Paul Thomas Anderson, also directed One Battle After Another, the big winner last night of Best Picture. It's like all of us in business, isn't it? You want to be in control of as much of the supply chain as possible. What you write, when you see it get to the screen, you want the vision of what you wrote to be properly brought to the screen. And how do you do it? It's like in any business. It's like you in your homes, too. If you want something done right, you do it yourself. In today's world of movies, if you want something done right, you're going to direct it. And so the awards are indicating that. I loved it. It's the end of the award season. I didn't even spend enough time on Conan O'Brien's monologue, mediocre. I don't feel like his jokes landed. I didn't care about AI. I didn't care about Home Alone and not going to a theater. I didn't care about Timothée Chalamet and opera and his ballet comment. He was going to lose to Michael B. Jordan. We told you that. I didn't need him to dress up as Amy Madigan to open the show. I just didn't need it. It made me miss Billy Crystal and the openings he had. Crying out loud, I miss Doogie Howser. I'm not saying that it wasn't fun, what Conan did at the end, getting lockjawed. I'm not saying that wasn't fun. I'm just saying it wasn't the level of entertaining. I know it's a heavy world. Believe me, I know. I don't need Javier Bardem, the greatest movie villain of all time, to tell me about what's going on in the world. Javi, I got you, buddy. I don't need you telling me what needs to be free and what doesn't. I got it. Why don't you give me the benefit of a doubt that I don't need to have it hammered into me? So that's it. You know it starts today, don't you, Coca? Today. We are on the road to the 27 Oscars. Movies that you will watch. So, for example, after Dan's show, which I'll be doing live in only an hour and 17 minutes from now, unless you're watching this on DraftKings Network. I can't say that. Sorry, Coca. Am I not? It's because people don't know we're live. Well, we are live on YouTube, and so will Dan. But we're also on DraftKings Network, and you may be listening to this. I'm going to watch a movie that Coca told me to watch. It's called War Machine. Can't wait to watch that beauty today. Coca and I will get a good laugh about it tomorrow. I will review that in tomorrow's show. Nothing personal pick of the day. I had the Nuggets plus 5.5 versus the Spurs on Thursday. And remember what we told you. Please try to pick a winner and you will get a winner. Well, the Nuggets won the game. Jokic had a 30-20 triple-double. Nuggets win the game in San Antonio. Remember I told you what a big game that was? The Nuggets had not beaten the Spurs. We're getting closer to May and June. Pay attention to the timing during the season. We are 15-18. We're going to do a pick today. I don't see a line here, Coca, but Venezuela and Italy. I think you may have told me before the show, and I absolutely forgot. But whatever it is, I don't know if we have a graphic. Whatever we got, we are taking Venezuela to go to the finals. Minus 190. Thank you, Coca. Venezuela minus 190 according to DraftKings. That is our pick. That is a heavy favorite, but I do see Venezuela getting to the finals to play Team USA, which will make for an amazing atmosphere come tomorrow night at the World Baseball Classic final. The other big event that happened yesterday was Selection Sunday, and I am going with the normal. I'm going with Yale and Wisconsin to meet in the finals of the tournament. I understand that Yale lost to Penn and is not in the tournament. Outrageous that Penn would beat Yale in the Ivy League final. I'm sorry. I am not picking Penn. I do a live show last night. I got 14 people in my ear telling me that High Point is the greatest three-point shooting team ever. Never heard of them. That High Point does nothing but shoot threes. That some guy is 0 for 4 shooting twos, but 69 for 120 shooting threes throughout the course of the season. Don't care. Wisconsin's going to beat High Point in the first round. Give me a break. Oh, big upset, High Point. Don't be ridiculous. Wisconsin Badgers are going to win this tournament. It doesn't matter that the number 1 seeds are so great, and I've got people in my ear about Duke and Arizona and Michigan and Florida, because I know people who are fans of each of those 4 teams. They were on it like yesterday, texting me, hey, we're getting the number 1 seed. Really? NSS, baby. No surprise that they're the number 1 seeds. Everyone's up in arms. Where am I going? I'm a Hurricane fan. I can't believe I have to go to St. Louis to play Missouri. What an outrage. Missouri should be coming here to Miami. Well, Miami's not hosting a round. Yeah, but don't bother me with that. People get all jacked up. It's going to be talked about. I'm sure Dan's going to talk about it. All of the Selection Sunday and the teams. I found it far less interesting, the revealing of the brackets. I just want to know when the games start, because there is nothing like the first few days of the men's basketball tournament. So many games. They're starting like incrementally every 30 minutes, pretty much all day. You fill out your bracket. Your bracket gets busted immediately. I read something, Coca, and who knows if it's true. Like, to pick a perfect bracket, isn't there a guy, and I want to say is it Warren Buffett, who will give $1 million, or is it $1 billion or 10 million? There's somebody in business who anyone has all of his employees fill out a bracket, and if you have a perfect bracket, then you get a huge sum of money. And there's all these pools you can get into where if the perfect bracket, you can't do a perfect bracket. The odds are like 1 in 69 billion, because it's just, let's look at the upset in the 12-5 game. Stop it. Just stop it. But I will fill out a bracket, Coca. I promise you that. So the game that we are focused on, for me, is the game that's off the court. It's not any of the first-round matchups. It's not any of the play-in games. I'm thinking about our good friend John Calipari. I'm thinking about when he joined us as a guest on our show and talked to us about the concerns he had in college basketball. And I'm watching those concerns manifest themselves right in front of our eyes, exactly the way he said they would. College basketball under the current rules, and I'm not saying the sports committee that was put together by Trump, that is headed by Randy Levine, that's going to have an executive order. What is it, Coca? They said 8 days. Hasn't it been a week since those guys met? Where's that executive order? Isn't there, do I hear barking? Isn't there an executive order that is coming that is getting rid of NIL, that's going back to the way it was? We covered that on a show that I thought was last week, but I may have gotten that wrong. But the reality is that when you look at this tournament and you look at who's in the tournament, the SEC has 10 teams in the tournament. Last year, they had 14, so people are saying, oh, it's working. There's equality. No. It's the same situation. We've got NIL that has taken over college basketball. We've got the 25, 26, 27-year-olds who are taking over college basketball. And don't talk to me about the one-and-done Duke guys who happen to have a father named Carlos Boozer. Not interested in that part of the conversation. Not because it proves me wrong, just because it's not enough to give me an exception and then tell me that the rule does not apply. The rule in this case is that college basketball, as witnessed by the makeup of this tournament, has a problem, and everyone knows it. It is going to get fixed, but one of the things that makes me smile is when the amount of money that comes into the NCAA from the broadcast deal is so large, and we all can't get enough of it. Obviously, why do you screw with something that prints money? We have way more to cover, and we'll do it after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. Over the weekend, we were able to have a lot of talk. Of course, it was WBC, it was Oscars, it was Selection Sunday. But one of the stories that we've been following here quite closely is the WNBA and their collective bargaining agreement negotiations. I do take some pleasure in having you as our loyal audience, and thank you so much for watching us live, Nothing Personal with David Sampson YouTube channel, subscribing, watching us on DraftKings Network, listening to us wherever you get our content. Thank you. We're on Twitter at David P. Sampson, nothingpersonal.mpds, Instagram, TikTok, etc. Thank you, thank you. But I do take pleasure in that you can leave this show knowing more than others, where you know when Adam Silver stands up, he looks right into the microphone during the All-Star game and says, March 10th is the deadline to have an agreement with the players. After that, there's going to be a real problem. We're going to miss a lot of schedule dates. We got to do an expansion draft. We got to do a regular draft. We got to do free agency. I'm telling you, players, if you don't say yes to what we want by March 10th, you are looking at missed paychecks, however small they may be. And I had pointed out to you, March 10th, give me a break. Notwithstanding the wait to see that I got wrong, which is that they would actually have a deal, because I can't believe the players are being this insane about this negotiation. And I do not want to be so pro-management when it comes to the WNBA, but my God, is there a misunderstanding with what's really happening? But the problem is Adam Silver wasn't willing to have March 10th as the actual deadline. Then why say it? You think that's scaring the other side? You think they're going to give in when they haven't given in for 17 months because you said March 10th is the date, but you've got your own set of people in the union who are telling you that in their timeline, March 10th is not the deadline? Stop it. So guess what happens? They negotiate, and on March 10th, there's no deal. So what do? They spend all weekend negotiating, like till 2 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then they meet the media. It's so damn rude to make the media stay up late because you couldn't get your act together to negotiate during the sunlight. It should be like Fiddler on the Roof, sunrise, sunset. That's it. Those are the hours that you get to negotiate. But we also know that in a negotiation, when you have to get down to it, it's because you're at the wire. You're hanging on to the cliff by your unmanicured fingernails. Then you get movement. Well, it wasn't March 10th, wasn't March 11th, it wasn't Thursday night or Friday night or Saturday night or Sunday night. But wait, we have a new deadline. It's not Adam Silver telling us this one must be real. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, we got to get this done by Monday. The commissioner gave, not Adam Silver, the WNBA commissioner said, we've got a Monday deadline or else the season will get interrupted. This is literally what she said. Side note, you know the date today because it's whatever day it is, March 16th, March 17th. We have to get a deal done by Monday. We have to get it done without disrupting some part of the fact that we've got to run this two-team expansion. We have to get expansion going. We got to get free agency going. We got to get the college draft. Sports Business Journal had this great quote, and I'm laughing. Like, all right, now we're serious. Now there's going to be great movement. The problem is we've got the WNBA and the WNBPA. They're saying some weird stuff that if I'm the chief negotiator, I'm taking full advantage. When you say that we've got two major items, when you are the WNBPA president and you say, hey, we're down to two issues, revenue sharing and team-funded housing. Quote, those are the two major items that need to be resolved to get a deal. We got to nail those two things down, which I think is the biggest thing on the agenda today. So when you're doing a CBA negotiation, just as a small FYI, when you announce a deal, it's not actually been papered. What you've done is you've agreed on all of the points, but there is still a tremendous amount of negotiating that happens on the language. On the language that states that which the two parties are saying they now agree to. Hey, we have an agreement on salary cap. We have an agreement on league minimum salary. We have an agreement on housing. All right, let's get it written down, lawyers. And then all of a sudden you have to read it, which most owners and most players will not do. Some do, most don't. You look down, wow, this says that I have to live on the wrong side of the tracks, and it says that I've got 1 day after I'm released to get out of my apartment. Hold on, we didn't agree to that. I need 48 hours, and I will not live anywhere but a Class A building. All right, I'll be back to you. Back and forth you go. There is a lot of work that gets done from having an agreement that you tell the media about to an agreement that is actually codified. You see, a CBA is a written document. It's not like a living conversation. It's not like, oh, let me check my notes. Oh, I thought you meant X. No, I didn't. I meant Y. That ain't it. A collective bargain agreement is a thick document that is a legal contract that is signed by both parties. Forget the vote. Oh, 30 players voted for it. 8 players didn't. 60% of the people loved 69% of the items in it. No. Every word in the CBA becomes the law that manages the relationship between players and management. So, we got a deadline. What we have, frankly, is a missed deadline, because there will not be a done CBA. But now the PR has to spin into place. There's got to be communication with fans. There's got to be communication with players. There's got to be communication of what a schedule will be, when a draft will be. Agents need to know. When expansion. Remember, you've got players in the union who are right now on a team, and they're going to wake up on an expansion team. You got to find a place to live. Housing, forget who pays for it. There are logistical things required, which means that they're meeting today. And when they meet for the sole purpose of getting to that finish line. But guess who's not going to give in on revenue sharing or housing? It's not going to be management. Because the WNBA owners, the NBA, Adam Silver, you want to condense the schedule? You have a situation where players are missing paychecks? They're okay with that. A word to the wise on these upcoming baseball negotiations: don't ever underestimate how much management is willing to do to get the deal it wants. And the reason I say that is that when you're in management and you've got a different horizon than a player, you view the same issue through a different lens. You are looking at the long-term impact of a yes today. And if you know that that long-term impact has a deleterious impact on your bottom line as you perceive it to be today, you're just going to be a no. Is there give on both sides? There will be. Is there a chance that the players will get a higher minimum than they have today? Yes. Is there a chance they'll have a little more allowance in housing? Yes. But when it comes to revenue sharing and the way that it is split, that's been the main issue this whole time. Don't get fooled. And it's going to happen during baseball as we talk about the CBA and the negotiation. Please do not get fooled by when we misdirect you. It's like a magic trick. We're going to misdirect you into certain issues because we're totally focused on the hand we have in your pocket on the other issues that matter to us. The WNBA and Adam Silver and the other NBA owners are focused on how do they give players the smallest percentage of revenue possible that is legal under agreement. In a salary cap world where revenue is fixed to payroll, you don't see the NFL fighting other than, hey, what do you count as revenue? Because that's a fight that you're going to have when you get a percentage of revenue that is fixed. The WNBA players are trying to get a fixed percentage of revenue, and they're going to claim victory when that number is in the 20s, when the WNBA and its owners were already prepared, as they do their pro formas, to be in the 30s. That's the beautiful part about a negotiation, when the other side doesn't know what you're willing to do, and that's how you win. Just watch for it. Huge deadline coming. Adam Silver woke up the other day. I don't know about you, Coca, but I used to have a situation where every day I loved. I had such a great life. I do not feel that way these days. The family issue I'm dealing with, I'm not having the fun I used to have. I go every night, and this has been going on since I was in law school. Oh my God. This is since 1990. Sorry. I always look at the next day's plan, what I'm going to be doing. So I plan before I go to bed, I visualize what the day will be. I've been doing that since law school, and on to delivering newspapers and on to Wall Street baseball, doing this show, always. There never used to be a day where I'd look at the calendar and be like, oh, I'm not all that excited about this day. When you have a job like the commissioner, there are days that you have to do things that you don't want to do, but you're commissioner. It doesn't mean when you have the job of your dreams that every day is going to be roses and sunshine. Adam Silver looked at his calendar the other day, and it said, flight to Portland. Now, I am not besmirching Portland, but private or not, the flight to Oregon, as we know from our friend here, Trista, it ain't next door. But Adam Silver had a schlep to Portland. Why? Do you know what's going on in Portland? Two things of note. One, there's a WNBA expansion team starting in Portland. You'd think maybe that's why Adam's there. Nope. How about the Trailblazers? How about the fact that they're for sale? How about the fact that the Trailblazers were recently part of the Allen estate, and that part of that sale price included the reality that they had an arena situation? How about the fact that the Portland Trailblazers need to get public money to renovate the Moda Center? How about the fact that Adam Silver made a promise that if you pay this number, that will continue to have our franchise valuations escalate, I will board my Gulfstream and I will come to Portland and stand side by side with you as we say to the public in Portland, give me your money. And you're tired and you're hungry and you're poor, as long as it results in hundreds of millions of dollars to renovate, because that's the promise I made to the new owner. Remember the Hurricanes guy who bought the Trailblazers, and all of a sudden it's not about moving them. You got to get a renovated center, and if you don't get a renovated place to play, then what do you do? I wonder whether it's part of a plan for a commissioner or a commissioner's representative to go to a city, ask for money, and then when the money doesn't come, be okay with the relocation of that team. Hold on, I've never heard that before. Wait, let me think. Oh. So think about what Tom Dundon is going to do. He is having Adam Silver stand next to him so he can stand up and say to his fans, I told you I'm not moving to Carolina. Whether it's on my mind or not doesn't matter, because look, I got Adam Silver here. I got the big kahuna, the big cheese. He's standing, the commissioner of basketball. So the Oregon lawmakers approved a $600 million public funding package that will help renovate it. And then one of the senators said, you don't expect a really big bill to be done in a short session, but they managed to put it together. How did that happen? How is it that you'd think that there would be a legislative effort in Portland that could not take years? How is it that it would happen that you would get that level of public financing approved, as one of these senators said directly, this quickly, in a short session where it shouldn't be a priority? And God knows if you've been to Portland, you know very well what the priority should be. Is that because the Moda Center is the oldest facility in the NBA that hasn't been renovated and it's over 30 years old? Adam Silver gave the quote of the stadium financing year in Portland. It was written for him and plainly spectacular. He said to them, coming right off the plane, you need a state-of-the-art arena here. And the Moda Center has become probably the oldest building in the league. Adam, you don't need to say probably because you've got the stats. You know the oldest team because your PR people told you what the oldest place is. Anyway, I digress. There may be a building or two that are older, but have already gone through significant renovations. So you know that this work needs to be done. I'm going to pause there just to let you know that when you're talking to the public about getting public money, it is always important to shame. It's not fat shaming. It's not weight shaming. It's not financial shaming. This is just city shaming is what I like to call it. You want to be a world-class city, you got to have baseball. You want to not fall behind this place or that place, you got to renovate this arena. You got to keep this professional sports team. Wait a second. Let me think. In the history of my life, when I am deciding on where I'm going to move, when I'm thinking about my work, when I've got a company who makes me an offer, hold on, let me call the Chamber of Commerce. Are there professional sports teams there? Tell me about your park layout. Tell me about how close the rec center is, and I'm really dying to understand your traffic patterns. You're right. Doesn't interest me the amount of guaranteed money I'm going to get or what my relocation package is. I'm way more worried about what's going on in your city. Give me a break, would you? Then, when you're getting public money for an arena in Portland, you have to drop the usual. This ain't about 41 games, folks. We're getting other events here. This work needs to be done, Adam Silver said, not just for basketball teams, but for all those events. And because I know on behalf of the economy of Portland, you guys have lost out on some big events because this arena isn't updated. Oh, Adam, you're doing it. You are hitting them where it hurts. You are telling them that their city's gone to crap in a handbasket because they haven't renovated the place the Trailblazers play. The reason why they can't get big events has nothing to do with the situation in the city. Don't you worry. It has nothing to do with the location. Don't you worry. It's totally convenient to the East Coast. Fine. The reason why you're not getting events is because you haven't given money to renovate the Moda Center. Okay. Phew. I'm glad we got that out of the way. I'm sorry. It's like the playbook, man. This is page 2. It's like Adam Silver brings Rebecca from Ted Lasso and says, come with me, and we're just going to walk around Portland. Shame, shame, shame. You didn't renovate your center. Shame on you. I'm only laughing because I try it. It may have worked. But still, shameful. I watched Game of Thrones because Coca told me to. I've never been a big sword guy. I like the metaphor. I like telling you about swords and shields. I like Mandy Patinkin and Princess Buttercup's love, whose character's name in the Rob Reiner movie. Oh my God, in The Princess Bride, that played by Carrie Ilwes. Dread Pirate Roberts. Thank you, Coca. Nailed that one. I don't know how he does it. He's doing 50 things at once. So I like talking about swords and shields. I had the opportunity to see at the game the other night Giancarlo Stanton's agent, Joe Wolf. Joe Wolf, as you know, one of the good guys, and there aren't many, but he is one of them. And we had a chance to talk, and he's the one who first talked to me and promised me that if we give Giancarlo Stanton an opt-out, he will not use it as a sword. He will only use it as a shield. He said those words. It won't be about whether, anything about your team and winning, about him getting more money or him outperforming his contract. He's just going to protect himself against you not doing what you said. All right, whatever. Sword shield. The NFL is using sword shield in a way that is unprecedented and staggeringly beautiful. This weekend it came out that the NFL, about their opt-out. The NFL has all these broadcast deals that go until the mid-30s, like 2033, like 7 more years. Part of what they negotiated was an opt-out. They could opt out of all their deals in 2029. Not today. They do not have an opt-out today. I want to make sure that everyone hears that loudly and clearly. The NFL is in a set broadcast deal for the next 4 years, 26, 27, 28, 29, after which they can opt out if they believe they can get more money. Well, guess what the NFL is doing, and we told you about it, and now this weekend we got confirmation. The NFL has decided that they want to renegotiate their current media deals, the media deals that they are contractually obligated to live with. They are going to their partners, and they are saying, look at my sword. This ain't the tiny needle. This is Vascularian steel. God, did I butcher that? Totally butchered it. Valerian steel. I wanted to sound so good with Game of Thrones. This is Valerian steel. When I put it through your armor, it will pierce your heart, and I will hold you on a stick. And all you got to do to avoid that fate is give me at least 50% more than you're giving me, and do it right now. Can you imagine the broadcast companies? Like, can you imagine Roger Goodell walking in to David Ellison's office? Hey, are you feeling good about the Warner Brothers deal? You feeling poor? I hope you're not. I hope that you're not worried that your dad's net worth went down by half because the stock market took a tumble because we had some war issues. I hope that you are liquid, baby, because we need some liquid. And I don't mean a drink. We want your money. So here's what we're going to do. Can you imagine a league doing this? And yes, it's fine. Call me out. Am I jealous? You can bet your sweet bippy I am. Do I wish baseball and basketball had the ability to do what the NFL is doing? Of course I do. Do I think it's right? How do you judge whether your business maneuver is right? The NFL going up to Paramount and saying, listen, just so you know, I want a 50% increase on the over $2 billion you're giving me starting now. I want $3 billion a year for your package. Here's what you're going to get, nothing more than what you get. Here's what you're going to give, 50% more. And here's what I'm going to do for you because I love you. I'm the benevolent commissioner of the NFL. I'm going to tell you that I won't opt out. It's so good. Think about the math here just for a second, that if they get these broadcasters to be so scared of the opt-out in 29, that what they do is they agree to pay an extra $1 billion a year for the years leading up to the opt-out, so the NFL has another $1 billion per year from each of its partners at a minimum for nothing. And the moral of this story, where it is rumored that CBS will have to pay this fee starting next year. When you are negotiating a contract, you can't just be thinking about today. You know the through line from the WNBA? You've got to be thinking about tomorrow. When you give a player an opt-out in 6 years and say, I won't have to worry about it, what's the big deal? when you give a league an opt-out because they believe they've got the leverage and they're demanding it, and you need it so badly that you can't go full Zasloff and say, oh, I don't care if we don't renew with the NBA. The NFL broadcast partners are literally crapping bricks thinking they're losing the NFL, losing the top programming that's live or otherwise, losing the audience that comes into your networks. Don't worry about the fact that there's a game on a different streaming channel every day and that you, the consumer, has to buy every single one of them. Don't worry about that. But these streamers don't want to lose one thing. They want more NFL, more 18th game. Bring it, baby. We got you covered. Preseason, still good, but don't want it. The power of the NFL to put a provision in a broadcast deal that gives them the opt-out is one thing. I don't love it. Remember, baseball, ESPN, that was all about an opt-out, all about the walkaway that baseball and ESPN did. The problem with the walkaway is that now it's not just a walkaway where you can be comfortable at that time when the walkaway is supposed to happen, because now I get to threaten you with the walkaway. Oh, God, it's another thing to think about. I just negotiated a deal with you, and now I got to worry about it the day after. Can you imagine signing your favorite player? I'm staring right at Coca. Imagine if you signed Soto and that you knew he had opt-outs after 2 years and 4 years, but then after 1 month, he said, by the way, I want more money because look what Kyle Tucker got from the Dodgers. You can't operate a business that way. It is absolutely unacceptable. If I'm a shareholder, whether it's of Comcast or whether it's Amazon or whether it's Paramount, CBS, I am being rolled over a barrel by the National Football League. And here's the thing. They're going to take it. Isn't that amazing? That Paramount, NBC, Amazon, Fox, they're all going to renegotiate now. The NFL is not doing a trial balloon with CBS. They're not saying, hey, we got to know from everyone. Let's see what CBS does. Believe me, there's communication. It is very well understood that when one person jumps as a broadcast partner of the NFL, then you've got 5 people jumping rope so fast that you can't keep track on a TikTok. I am not begrudging what the NFL is doing. I am asking the broadcasters to be Bryce Harper. I am asking them to do a deal where they know when the deal is done that they've got certainty that that deal is done. Bryce Harper's long-term deal with the Phillies, signed. Forget that John Middleton would renegotiate because he's so happy, though. You don't hear that anymore. But forget all that. Signed, no opt-outs, a long-term deal. You know what? You'll win some, you'll lose some, you'll have good years, you'll have better years, you'll have worse years. It's called a long-term, contractually obligated business relationship. The power dynamics that we talk about that exist in companies, that exist in relationships, that exist in countries, the power dynamics that we see manifested from D.C. all the way to Oregon, those power dynamics are put in place when there is a leveraged difference between the two parties. Otherwise, you don't get a power dynamic. The NFL created this leveraged instability when they did these contracts to start with. Here's my view on it, Coca, because it's quite something. You're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck because the friends from CBS that we have, and I told you, and I have to say it at this part of the show, that yes, I do work for CBS Sports. Layoffs, expense adjustments, reallocation of revenue. You don't just take $1 billion out of thin air and not have it spread across all of your other divisions in order to make the numbers work. You make a decision on your allocation and what you're going to pay for what. We've heard Murdoch of Fox already talk about the fact that, hey, there's going to be some stuff going on with the Fox and the NFL deal. You don't hear anybody doing the zazz. And I don't mean Jonathan, I mean David. Because they all know that they are going to look at the NFL and say, yes, sir, may I have another? Yes, sir, may I have another? Until they have been like Timothy Chalamet and his two butt cheeks. They're going to be red, sore, full of noise, and at the end of the day, come in second place. After the game, we went to Coca on, I don't remember what night we went. Saturday night, I believe it was. Saturday night at 3 a.m. was the China Grand Prix. And I had the opportunity, because you're up anyway, the game, by the time you get home, it's 1:30 in the morning. The Grand Prix starts at 3 a.m. And I was watching the new Apple broadcasts. Remember, the Grand Prix is no longer, F1 is no longer on ESPN. It is now on Apple. This was the second race of the season. All new announcers, all new pit reporters. And the story of the race was not the teenager who was the pole and the winner. Not relevant. The big story of the weekend was that the Saudi Arabian and Bahrainian races were going to be canceled by F1. This is not a small deal. The war that is going on right now in the Middle East, the uncertainty, the people trapped, the airports closed, the inability to freely move. Wow, it is true that F1 had races in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, two places where individual human rights are not exactly front and center. Not exactly the priority in Saudi Arabia to make sure that everyone feels comfortable. No, they don't care. You're a woman, you are gay, whatever you are, you're not a part of what they're doing. But the race goes on. Hold on. We may get bombed. Wait a second. It's unsafe for our private planes to get in there. Hold on. Stop the presses. We're out. I always found that funny. Self-preservation. It's pretty damn powerful, isn't it? I can be absolutely angered by the policies of a government, but hey, it's not my backyard. Doesn't change anything about my particular day. So I'm very happy to go to Saudi Arabia and do a race. No problem. Bahrain? Hell yeah. I was in Bahrain visiting troops. Believe me, I'm not walking around Bahrain without security. No chance, toilet pants. So these races get canceled. For F1 to cancel races, here's the equivalent. The number of races on the calendar, and I'm going to get this wrong, Coca, because I'm tired. I want to say it's 24, just as a matter of guessing the total number of F1 races on the calendar. And you've got the drivers complaining they need more breaks, but they get a full break. And they're worried about their schedule, and they're schlepping around like golfers and tennis players. I'm tired, and there's a big group, and you got to get the cars, yada, 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 yada. Do you know the amount of revenue? It's the equivalent of a little more than a football season. You don't just cancel a game. Forget two. There are 22 races, and you are canceling almost 10% of your season. That's like if MLB just chopped off 16 games because of unrest in a particular city. Not one game, not a weekend, 16 games. The NFL canceling 2 weeks of a season? This is a huge revenue situation. F1 is going to lose out on a couple $100 million of revenue by missing these 2 weeks. Think about the rights that Apple just got. They had the rights to a certain number of races. It doesn't mean that they will pay less money to F1. It means there will be make goods down the line. There could even be an extension to the existing contract. That's the way we deal with media rights deals in case of strike, in case of lockout, in case of hurricane. You give them more games at the same rate, no extra money on the backside of the deal. The reason why this is of note to me is that F1 is at a crossroads. When you're at your second race of the season and your star, most highly paid racer, Max Verstappen, is coming out and questioning everything about your sport, which is what Max did this weekend after China. He basically called Formula One a joke. He's so angry about the new rules and regulations about the electric engines and when they can be on, when they can't be on, when they run out of juice, when they don't run out of juice. He said it's not fun at all. This is him talking to ESPN. It's playing Mario Kart. Who can't relate to that? If I can make a living playing pole position at Broadway Pizza right near Horace Mann, you can bet that that's what I'd be doing right now. Pole position. How good was I? You take the wheel and you're doing it. Mario Kart? Can you imagine? It would be the equivalent of Shohei Ohtani saying, MLB is a joke. It's like playing for my local team in Japan when I was 5. I'm going to say that's a pretty big insult to the powers that be at F1 who made the changes. What would you say is the bigger issue, Coca, that F1 is facing? Losing 2 weeks of races or having an angry Max Verstappen? Well, you're a fan of the show. Here's the answer. It's losing the 2 races in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. The leaders at F1 are not sitting there, Liberty, and looking, oh my God, we've got an unhappy Max Verstappen. Oh my God, we're going to change all the rules. We're going to go back to the way it was because that seems to be a thing these days. Let's go back to the way it was. Let's not look at progress at all. Let's ignore it. Let's stunt it. When the F1 Liberty peeps who own it are looking and they're looking at their value, the value of F1 doesn't change $1 with an unhappy Max Verstappen. Not $1. He can come out and sell you the product all he wants, don't care. Marginalized. We'll ignore him. Barely put him in Drive to Survive. He doesn't like being there anyway. Barely even promote or talk about him and Red Bull. Forget it, don't need to. We've moved on. To me, this smells of, I want to keep being relevant. I want to find a way back to the podium and to the winner's circle when he came very close last year after a great string of back-to-backers. So, Max comes out thinking that it's going to draw attention, that it's going to be a catalyst for change. Well, F1's got a lot of bigger things on its mind, and Max V ain't one of them. Sorry, Max, but head on home. Your dinner is still hot. I promise you that. I want to mention something, 2 things. One of them is on what's going on in Washington. We spent a lot of time in the Pacific today. We talked about Portland several times. I don't know. It's just on my mind. I wanted to talk about the state of Washington as well. So many arguments are being made these days about tax-free states and how important it is to be a tax-free state because players are making their decisions based on tax-free states, because it's hard to be competitive with a state that isn't tax-free because you're going to get more money to the player. It's totally ignoring the reality of the taxes that are paid. People act like they don't pay tax in Florida. It makes me laugh. Have you ever seen your property tax bill in Florida? I'm just asking. Have you ever seen your sales tax, your occupancy tax, the taxes on your hotels and rental cars and things you purchase? I'm just throwing it out there. When you don't have an income tax, you somehow get the ability to say, hey, we have no state income tax. We're a greater state than anybody else. Somehow that's the messaging that we've grown accustomed to when we're totally ignoring all the other things that we pay for and we're not doing a net versus net comparison. I would like you to stop talking gross if you can. It's like talking to me about EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, and telling me that's how to judge the health of a team or an industry. No. Cash. Talk to me about operating cash flow. Is that what you do, by the way, in your life? Do you say, oh, on paper, I got to tell you, I don't pay income tax. my take home is so much bigger. And do you leave it at that? Is that your analysis when you're thinking about a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, or you're thinking about a mortgage, or you're thinking about borrowing money or spending the savings you have? Or are you focused on total outflows of cash to live the life that you're living that is very reasonable? I would assume the latter. Well, the Seahawks general manager, John Schneider, is doing a little bait and switch with me, and I won't have it. The state of Washington is coming up with a new tax. They're calling it the millionaire tax. This is a tax that the Washington lawmakers approved, and it would impose just under a 10% tax on any earnings above $1 million. That means that if you earn $2 million, you will have to pay taxes on the second $1 million, 10% of that second $1 million, or a tax of $100,000, which is the equivalent of a 5% income tax on a $2 million salary. Trust me, it's early, but the math is right. You can do the math right along with me. 10% of $1 million is $100,000. That's 5% of $2 million. You got it. Now, John Schneider, the GM, is saying, hold on, folks. This is a rancid nightmare. The fact that I could win a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson and then tear it down and then rebuild it and win another one with Sam Darnold. Do you know how I was able to do that, ladies and gentlemen? It's because we have the income tax that we have. It's a selling point. John Schneider basically said that differences in state tax policies have played a role where athletes sign. This is him talking. That players structure their contracts and signing bonuses and deferred income all to lower their income tax. And we could talk about Shohei Ohtani. Hey, I'll take $2 million this year. I'll defer $68 million, and I'm going to screw California. And I told you there's going to be an AUDIT. You think the state of California is not going to look at Shohei Ohtani and say, hold on a second, Johnny. I mean, I know that you've got to pay off debts of former friends, but don't you tell me that we're not one of them. Don't you tell me that we're not going to get away with you and collecting tax from you. We want it. Schneider said this new tax will remove a recruiting advantage the Seahawks have against higher tax states like California. All right, John, talk to me. You're talking to an offensive lineman, and they're coming at you with a allocation of cap from the LA Chargers that is such where you were able to offer a smaller number and get the player because of Seattle and the lack of taxing the rich. Hold on a second. I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Because he said this not to himself. He went on KIROAM and he talked about this new millionaire tax as though he was some sort of policymaker. Talking about it like, hey, just to give you a little excuse up front when we don't repeat because it's so frickin' hard to repeat. It's the millionaire tax that did it. Listen, as millionaires, the players would obviously prefer not to pay extra tax, but it's not extra tax. I never understood why more people didn't pay attention to my grandfather. No one got poor paying taxes. You can get unfree not paying taxes, but you can't get poor. You are taxed by definition a percentage of your salary. Therefore, you have money, profit. Think about this, John Schneider. Let's go to a state with no tax at all. How about our state right here in Florida? Is that what the Dolphins, is that why they're so good over the last 25 years? Because they have better recruiting? They get better players because there's no tax disadvantage? And so everyone wants to play for the Dolphins? Hold on. Waiting. That's right. They stink. Yeah, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in Florida, and they're the biggest winning franchise ever. They've got 2 rings in the last 30 years. Look at how amazing they've done by having no income tax in Florida. And don't get me started on Shaka Khan in Jacksonville. Still Florida. So good they had to move to London. They didn't actually move to London, but you know what I mean. They sort of moved to London. They gave a bunch of games to London. I wonder why, but they're having a great reno there. Coca, aren't they moving to Orlando for a year? Is that this year they're going to play somewhere else because they're totally redoing the Jacksonville stadium? They couldn't get a new stadium, so instead they're doing a big renovation. I think they have to move out of Jacksonville. I absolutely think that it's in the kernel of a brain. Talk to me. In 2027, is it Orlando? They're going to Camping World Stadium. Did you know that the Jacksonville Jaguars will play in London and Orlando in 27, not in Jacksonville? But anyway, I digress because Jacksonville has been a powerhouse. That is a winning franchise if there ever was one because of the great income tax advantage. Anyway, love you, John Schneider, but don't talk to me about the millionaire tax, would you please? As I put a bow on today's show and on the end of the Oscars, there was something that came up with Jimmy Kimmel last night, one of the presenters. And this is a big, big deal to me. And this is the freedom of the press. And this is not about being liberal or being conservative. This is about getting truthful information. This is about me being able to only be smart because what I read and what I retain and then what I can debate in my mind or with other like-minded people, not because they agree with me, because they're smart. I can debate things because we're using sourced material that is accurate. When you have sourced material that's not accurate, then you're forwarding an AI tweet or a quote by Garrett Crochet that he didn't actually say. All of those things are true. But it's gotten worse. The Committee for the First Amendment released a statement that said today is not a normal Oscars. Yesterday, the sitting FCC chair threatened that TV broadcasters must course correct their coverage of the Iran war or they will lose their licenses. Whatever you talk about today, whatever nonsense in sports or whatever joy we get, whatever entertainment we get, and we try to do that for you, please understand the significance of that last sentence. If you can lose your broadcast license because you are not talking about the war the way that President Trump wants you to talk about the war, we are no longer the United States of America. That is the definition of being in an authoritative state. The definition is with state-controlled media. Ask the Cubans in Miami. State-controlled media is worse than any other policy that exists, and you're talking about a guy who is so pro-choice and anti-gun that I can't even describe it to you. Spoiler alert, yes, I am. However, pretty fiscally conservative. However, don't tell me that I'm going to live in a place where I got to worry that what I'm seeing on TV is not the musings of someone where I can discern New York Times or New York Post or Washington Times or Washington Post. You're telling me that I would have to be in a situation where now CBS or NBC or ABC or Fox or I don't care which broadcaster, CBS is not getting great love about this issue, but where you are being told, hey, you will talk about something a certain way because we tell you. Well, what's the check to that? How do we balance? Here's how. We cannot allow that. Out of all the things that you may agree with or disagree with your elected politicians, if you are not paying attention to the fact that there could be a state-controlled media, then you are missing the forest for the very important tree because you want to be worried about something. That's what you worry about. It's just business. But man, we'll be back tomorrow. This is nothing personal.